Hello, hello. This is Scott Jones. Welcome to Me Too Recovery. Got my good friend here, Daniel Oldham, hanging out with us tonight. How you doing, Dan?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Um, so just wanted to just take a little time and just talk with you a little bit and let the viewers know kind of how you got to the walk that you're on right now, because it's pretty fascinating to know what all God's brought you from and brought you through, man.
Yeah.
But if you would you just kind of share with us a little bit of how we came to know each other and what God's been doing in your life, and let's just kick that off, man.
Yeah.
So, in your childhood growing up, did you attend church? Was that a thing?
Not till I was about 7 or 8. My parents divorced. I was
Okay.
born to some drug addicted parents. Basically a drug addicted family.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's all I was ever around. But about 7 years old, like I said, my parents got divorced. And my dad took me. He was pretty deeply grounded as a child. So,
Right.
yeah. So,
And so your dad lived out of state,
yeah. Moved down there when I was probably 8, I guess. He moved to Tampa.
Tampa. So you
To the
grew up
railroad.
primarily in Tampa. That where you?
Man, I was on and off. I was on an airplane like 12 times back and forth. Alabama, just spoiled child, whoever they'd send me a plane ticket back and forth. Back and forth.
Whoever wanted you this week, right?
Yeah.
Right. So how was life with your dad?
Oh, dad was good, man. I guess mom was really the problem most of the time. Dad stopped doing drugs when I was like 7.
Right,
With the
okay.
railroad and moved to Tampa
Right.
to run that one down there. But, yeah. Yeah, but my whole family, my grandfather owned a trucking company,
Okay.
which I later learned was a big front for bringing in a bunch of marijuana from Mexico. So all my uncles, all my everybody.
Family business. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So living with mom, what was that like?
Oh man, she become a stripper when I was like 8 years old. So man, just around bikers, just around all that mess. So I was living the lifestyle as a little guy, you know.
you were grown at 8, right?
Yeah, I was thinking earlier in my testimony all the time. You know, I was just thinking as I come over here, I always say I started selling drugs at 12. But I was thinking about it in the shower. I started selling bubble gum in the 4th grade out of my pencil box. You know,
You were hustling at a young age.
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm getting me an extra piece of pizza at lunch.
Yeah. And then that just takes off into other directions.
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah.
So didn't really go to church. You was in and out multiple homes.
Yeah.
So when did you first start doing drugs?
Yeah, like I said, probably 10 or 11. My mom was the first person to hand me a joint. You know, just in the back, say, hey, let me hit it while she's smoking going down the road, and she passed it to me. And when I was 29 years old, she was also the first person to help me stick a needle in my arm. So, yeah. But
So
mom was more like sister, get high, buddy, than mom.
right.
My granny was my mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And yeah, I can relate to that. My grandparents were the grounded ones in my life. So I would go to my grandparents' house every other weekend, kind of like a kid does, divorced parents. But I would go to my grandparents because that was the normal household. That's where I would actually go to church with my grandmother, and there was no fighting, there was no screaming, no yelling, and no drinking. And so I can relate to that. I've always said that my grandmother prayed me to where I am today.
Yeah, probably mine too. That's that was two of my biggest regrets. My grandmother never get to see me clean, and hadn't seen my daughter in 16 years. But praise the Lord, that happened 5 weeks ago.
That's awesome, man. I was so proud of you when I saw that on Facebook, man.
Yeah.
I think I literally kind of yay,
Yeah.
My wife's like, what? And I told her, and she's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But so you started shooting up when you were how old?
29.
29.
But I mean, like I said, I started selling weed when I was 12 years old, and by the time I was 15, I done did everything. They say marijuana is a gateway drug. I kind of agree with that because it's illegal, and you have to go underground to get it. And once you go underground, boom, there's everything else. So trade a little bit of my weed for a little, whatever.
Yeah.
So
It was, my drug choice was alcohol, and you can't go anywhere without alcohol. I went and got my oil changed not too long ago, and the guy said, "Do you want something to drink?" And I'm thinking water. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What you got?" And he starts naming off alcohols, and I'm like, "No, I'm good." I'm like, "At the oil change place, really? Golly, man."
everywhere.
Yeah, man. It's the society we live in. You know, it's not a problem for them, so they think it's not a problem for anybody, and that's just the kind of stuff I've got to steer clear of. So, how long did you struggle in your addiction?
Oh man, till I was almost 40 years old. I reckon when I come to the mission, I think I was 39 or 40. Yeah.
So what was that defining moment that I got to change kind of moment for you?
Man, it was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, lost everything a million times. When I come in the mission, I had nothing but the clothes on my back, and somehow the Bible my granny gave me.
Yeah.
That shirt was cut up, the sleeve from where they had arrested me and Narcaned me, previous to coming to Brother Brian. But just had nowhere to go. It was couch surfing, like Jim says at the mission. I'd done ran out of relationships. Burn them all.
Men don't become homeless because they run out of money. They become homeless because they run out of relationship.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go, man.
Right.
And so you found yourself coming to Brother Brian Mission.
Well, like I said, I overdosed.
Yeah.
Went to jail. Birmingham City Jail said the stupidest thing ever, that I wanted to kill myself. So they take everything you got. Your mat, your clothes. So I'm freezing 125 pounds, because I'm a junkie, on this steel bed for 3 days, 72 hours, and my bones are just digging in that steel. And only thing I know to do is, Mama can't help me, Granny can't help me, so I'm screaming for Jesus to help me. And little did I know he heard me and led me to the mission. I mean, I worked downtown all my life. I'd race cars down there every Saturday night. Never knew it was there. He absolutely led me there.
You're one of the guys that I credit with God using to change my mentality. Because I used to think that if you didn't get it at the mission, you wasn't going to get it.
Okay.
but your stay at the mission was short-lived, right?
About 3 months, 2.5 maybe.
Yeah. And so you left because of a woman, which there again, Jim's words of wisdom is, what's the number one reason a man will relapse or fall into sin is that, hey.
Every time I've seen it just in the week gone by. Some of my best friends, man, that women just take them right on out.
Well, and to be fair, there's a lot of women that are trying to get clean and men mess them up too.
Sure, absolutely.
But the point is, an inappropriate relationship will always lead you away from the Lord, which will lead you away from His protection and His covering. And so you left the mission. So how did we get to where we are?
The biggest blessing ever, I got put in drug court. People think that's horrible. That was my biggest blessing ever, to be set down for 1.5 years. And you can't get high if you got to pee in a cup 3 times a week, for Shelby County especially.
Right.
But, and then you guys took me to Celebrate Recovery. And, of course, I had to have my paper stamp when I was in drug court. So I drove all the way back up there to Springville from Columbiana and just got into it, just showed up, and when I didn't have to get my paper stamped, I kept going. So.
I remember at one time you were going to several CRs. And
when I met my wife, I was going to 3 different churches and couldn't tell you. I just, anywhere a door was open, man.
That's kind of my story, at one time, I legitimately was attending 8 different churches. I did that for about 3 months, trying to find the right spot. And so when I heard what you were doing, I was like, maybe he is listening, But I thought that was cool, that you were hungry for a change and hungry for the Lord. And so, what was God able to do through that time?
Oh man, you're talking about my time in drug court. It's 7 years, man. He's wild stuff, just wild, blow my mind. I was older than them kids, and it took me 40 years to learn almost that nothing was ever going to happen from my couch or my bedroom. I had to get out and get in relationships, in Christian relationships. But I started helping the younger guys there in drug court right off the bat. And just found a heart for doing that. And, going to Celebrate Recovery, I started learning about Jesus and started listening to Christian music, because that's what they played. And just kept on and kept on. And man, he has opened so many doors through that. I stayed at Celebrate Recovery up here at 180 for 2 years before I would take a 12-step. That's some drug addict stuff. I don't want to do that, whatever. But when I did that, that's when the healing really began, and the relationship with God really began. And I got into leadership shortly after that, and got to lead a 12-step right after
Well,
that.
and what you're describing is you finally got real with yourself. You
Right.
stopped lying to yourself. That's one of the beautiful things about 12-step
Yeah.
is that it holds a mirror up to your face and makes you look at, oh, I'm pretty jacked up.
Yeah. Plus hanging around with all the people, they'll
and-
call you out on it.
And the fellowship.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're allowing people to speak into your life. That's where true change. That's where I believe true change comes. Is when you allow someone else to tell you, "Hey, Daniel, you can't do that."
Yeah, you got to be able to take advice
Right.
in recovery, and that's probably one of the biggest things. And listen to what people ahead of you tell you. You know.
Right. Well, it's wisdom. Mm-hmm. If somebody tells you, "Hey, that hurts," listen to them.
Yeah, I had to learn how to not get offended so easily.
Yeah.
But-
Well, and that's all part of it. It's all part of the growth that,
Right.
that God wants to renew every part of you.
Sure.
How you see people, how you treat people, how you react to people,
Mm-hmm.
who you are as a person. He wants to renew all that. And that, to me, that's the beauty of CR and the 12 steps is that it's God just sweeping away all the mess and
Mm-hmm.
building up all the beautiful parts that He already placed within you.
Right. For me, like my wife says it too. What does Jesus ask us to do? Be disciples and make disciples. Me growing up just for saying a Baptist church, how do I do that? I see all these old cats, they're retired. How do I be like them? How do I get to be a deacon or whatever? Do some type of.
Right.
Well, for us, CR is the bridge to that gap. It lets the drug addict person, whatever, anybody, the codependent, the person that eats too much, whatever, be able to have a chance to do ministry and get on a platform, or once they've completed so many steps and done the required things. But yeah, that's the bridge for us, to get to that. We went through discipleship class, and our discipleship teacher told us everybody is called to ministry, in some type of way,
Right.
and how do you do that? And CR just makes it so easy for us.
Well, you may have heard that at Brother Brian too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's absolute truth in that. Not everyone's called to the pulpit,
Right.
but everyone's called to share the gospel.
Right.
That is we hate to use the word obligation, but as a Christian, that's one of the things that Christ requires of you. Now you've got it, go give it away.
Right.
And when you give it away, it makes you stronger, makes you better. It helps you. And that's the beautiful thing about serving God is that we in our addiction we're selfish and we don't want to share with no one. But in recovery, we're called to give it away, give it away, give it away, and we find ourselves getting stronger, better, and don't even think about the previous me anymore. Now it's almost like I talk about somebody else. It's some dude I used to know. It's not me. So tell us about your wife, man.
So back to a girl can mess you up or the opposite sex. Once I took them drugs out of my life, I had this big giant hole in me still, and I was feeding it with church and everything, and but it was women, and I horrible. Don't even want to talk about it. Once I got a house and a car and a job, that's all I need, right? Horrible. But just like with anything else, true surrender.
Right.
I go to CR every Friday night. I make sure I got my hair cut. I had on a nice polo shirt, some fresh shoes. I truly had to give up all that. Like, I just started wearing T-shirts and jogging pants. Sat on the other side of the church away from the girls. Literally blocked people in my phone. Took the actions to do that.
Okay.
And one night I'm sitting there at Celebrate Recovery. Been going there a couple of years. I'm pretty blind. Walks across the stage and gets the blue chip. I'm like, another girl getting off of drugs. And I done gave up women, and she was giving up men. And it's like God said, Daniel, meet Michelle. You're on the same path. And we didn't. When we first started talking to each other, we didn't know what to do with our hands. We didn't kiss for a long time. We honored that. We waited till we got married. We got married and moved in her house on the same day. We tried to do it as right as we can.
Right.
And but yeah, my best friend, man, she took a 12-step and God sent her at the right time. We lead a Celebrate Recovery in Alabaster. She came 8 months before I opened it. I had no clue how was going to help women because I can't help them.
Right.
I needed a woman too. But and since we have opened up a Celebrate Recovery, I guess they think we know what we're doing. They asked us to be state reps, so we're Celebrate Recovery state
They
reps.
just give away that position, don't they?
I guess so. But yeah, we've recently helped.
So let me backtrack here a little bit. So you go from a child in addiction, families in addiction, you're in addiction, to a grown man in addiction into your 40s, to now you're happily married, you own your own place, you own your own business. God is using you in ministry.
Yeah.
You're a state rep for the same type of ministry for Celebrate Recoveries. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Do you ever just kind of just sit back and go, wow?
Blows my mind all the time. I get to walk in and out of the same jail that I got locked up in last, Shelby County Jail. Yeah. Our drug court judge last year took us to Washington, D.C. I got to tell my testimony in front of Congress. But more importantly, I got to tell them how good God was.
Yeah.
It was behind closed doors, but it wasn't recorded, but I got to say it.
But whoever was in there, they heard it, right?
In front of the House of the Senate and the House of the Representatives. But
man, come on, look at God, man. Come on, from the crack house to the White House,
that's
bro.
Right. That's right.
That's a book right there. You got to write that, man.
I know.
that is awesome, man. That is so cool. So you and your wife now, y'all are leading small groups. You're leading CR. You're helping other people. What do you think God has next for you guys?
Oh man, we want to do so much more in ministry. We'd like to open up some type of sober living community,
right?
Where people could actually save money and move out of.
Right.
So,
well, I can say from what I do for a living, that is much needed.
Yes.
Because we got several guys that we're just scrounging, trying to find them a place to go. Because like Jim says, you can't stay here forever.
That's
right.
Right.
Everybody leaves, and so there's so many needs.
Yes.
So what are some things that you would tell someone that's watching right now that is struggling, that one of the reasons that I started Me Too Recovery is because when I was sharing my testimony, people would come to me and say, "That happened to you, Scotty?" "Yeah, me too." And so what I thought, I was the broken one, right? The devil had me convinced that everybody else was good, Scotty's bad, don't tell anybody because they'll look down on you. I've come to realize we're all broken, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say to the person that's watching right now that's broken and they don't know what to do, they're scared to take the next step, nobody cares about me, nobody wants to help me, I'll never change. Yeah. What do you say to that person, Daniel?
It's not what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you. I've been taught.
That's good.
And just come be in community. Like I said, if you see a CR in a church, that's a cool church. Go to it. But that, like I said, that's the bridge. Most people come there before they ever even make it to Sunday.
Right.
And that was the thing for me. Or any type of place like that. Just go somewhere and talk to somebody. There's hotlines you can call right here in Birmingham. Ross.
Yeah.
Lots of places you can talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And find out what happened to you, not what's wrong with you.
Well, and so I tell the guys all the time, I'll ask them, raise your hand if you're a drug addict. And everybody raise their hand. And I'll say, put your hands down. There are no drug addicts.
Right.
You do not identify as a drug addict.
Right.
You are a child of God. You're blessed. You're set free from that if you claim it. And so we allow the enemy to tell us. I heard a saying one time. It said, God knows your sin, but he calls you by your name.
Right.
Satan knows your name, but he calls you by your sin.
That's good.
And so I think a lot of times we allow Satan to tell us, well, here's what you are, here's who you are. When no, God tells me who I am. God determines who I am. You don't.
Absolutely.
Because I believe his word, and his word says you're a liar. So whatever you say about me also is a lie. So I'm not going to get caught up in that because I allowed him to lie to me and tell me lies for so long, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Scotty is this, and this, and he'll never be any better. He'll never do any different. But yet, God takes that hunk of mess and turns it into something, molds you to something beautiful and usable.
That's what keeps me going, man. really is. To see a guy from the mission or something, or
Right.
To see him crawl in broken, and a year later, they got a job and a car, and they're seeing their child, and
Yeah.
you know, taking their kid, going on birthday parties
Yeah.
at Christmas, whatever. Just
Yeah, that's the cool thing for me. Guys will come in, and everyone's cut them off. They burn all their bridges. Mama won't talk to them. Kids won't talk to them. They haven't seen their kids in years.
Right.
And then God starts restoring these lives and these families. And then next thing you know, guys are grabbing me, going, "Hey, I want you to meet my wife and my mother, and this is my daughter, and this is my son." And it's just one of those proud daddy moments, you know, like, yeah, see what happens when you do the right thing, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that his wife will come and visit him every Sunday, and he'll share scriptures that he's learned that week and some of the lessons that we've done. He shares those with his wife, so they're growing together as he grows through this. And there again, that's one of those things that we didn't plan. That we didn't plan for you to share this with your wife, not out of the book, right? When you go home, you're supposed to share it and be the leader of your house. But I never thought that she's going to come down to the mission every week and get taught by her husband, and to see those things, and to see them sitting there holding hands, and he tells me she wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Those are the things that gets me out of bed in the morning.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
To think that God can use me, that same broken kid, you know, the 8-year-old alcoholic. You know, by the time I was 8, I was an alcoholic. By the time I was 13, I was full blown partying. You know, and so. And it just blows me away when I tell people that, to look in their eyes, they're like, "What?
Yeah.
You know, you were how young?"
Yeah.
But those are the things that I can look at, and I know that that's not who I am.
Right.
That doesn't determine who I am in Christ.
Not at all.
That's just part of the lie that the devil had me believing. Just like your entire family are addicts. Well, Daniel, guess what you're going to be? Guess what your entire family sells drugs. Daniel, guess what you got to do? Yeah. And for God to go, no.
Yeah, he can take your pain and turn it into purpose. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He took you from a dope dealer to hope dealer.
Yeah,
Man. That's awesome.
I used to just be a networker, any kind of drug you want to get. Now I'm a networker for whatever kind of church you want to go to. But yeah.
Isn't that cool, man?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to someone. I've always led people. I used to lead them astray. Now I'm leading them to the Lord.
That's right.
You know, and so it's really cool how God can help you do that 360 in your life and say, you know, this is what you're intended for.
Yeah, probably the best thing I've is a perspective change too.
Yeah.
Just being able to look at things more positive and trying to find the good in everything.
Yeah.
I'm a over good seer now sometimes, but I try to find the good somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, he is the game changer.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, just the seed y'all planted to me in 2.5 months, you know. And I want to thank you right here in front of everybody. This was my chaplain 7 years ago, and he is still my chaplain today.
You're stuck with me, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and like I said, that helped change the way I deal with people. People like you have changed how I deal with people, because it's no longer get it or you're done for.
Yeah.
It's God has put you here for us to sow seed into your life, because you know one sows, one waters, but God always gets the increase, and so we never know what part of that journey we're joining you in.
Yeah, I've seen so many people from so many different rehabs that get that piece of paper, that graduation certificate, and I'm fixed. No.
No, man, this is a lifetime journey.
Yeah,
You're not going to be fixed until Jesus lays hands on you and says welcome. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? That I want to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
That's right.
But I shared with the guys in class this morning that, you know, used to be I was just hoping that I could squeak in the gate, you know, sneak in, that they won't even know I'm here, kind of mentality. Now I want to kick the gates open and go, "Hold on a second, we got some people coming."
That's right. Bring them in with me as I can.
Yeah, you know, and so but that's part of that change that he wants to make in you, right?
Yes, sir.
To totally change how you see people, how you see yourself, that you see yourself going from useless to useful, from sinful to now holy, because Jesus says you're holy.
That's right.
And he requires us to act that way. And so for me, that is so cool. I can't walk away from that, man. The creator of heaven and earth has put his faith in me.
That's right. And I get to taste it and see it.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's just valuable evidence.
And the fact that there's so many people that are, I guess, on staff with you at CR that went through the mission. There's several guys down there that I get to go down there and see the guys and see the joy on their face that they love serving people.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, for the non-addict, go talk to somebody. And or for the non-addict, for the addict, go talk to somebody. For the non-addict, be careful. My hardest withdrawal was off some prescription drugs, not off some street drugs.
Yeah.
Because those are pure pharmaceutical.
Well, that was always my thing. I always considered myself a snooty addict.
Yeah.
Because I had my name on my prescription bottle and I had a state seal on my whiskey bottle.
Yeah.
So you couldn't tell me I was an addict.
Yeah.
All this is legal. Cops pull me over, I just look at them and point. I'm good.
Yeah. No.
Well, man, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Man, I really enjoyed it, and it's been a joy watching your journey. Man, I look forward to what's coming. Would you like to just pray for the people out there?
Sure. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for this day, for all the many blessings. Thank you for all the people tuning in. Maybe somebody that's going to watch this on a recording. Lord, I just ask that you give them the guidance and the wisdom and the courage and strength to reach out and talk to somebody, to get some love, and to stop isolating and being by themselves. And stop believing those lies the enemy's telling you, and go get some truth, get fed, and he will change your life around. And Lord, I just hope you do that for everybody listening, everybody watching. We love you, and we thank you for all you're doing in our lives, and I want it in everybody's life. We love you, Lord.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please don't miss the opportunity to like, share, and follow BGTV, and we thank BGTV so much for allowing us this opportunity, and we thank you. We'll see you next week. God bless. We love you.